And hello, one and all, and welcome to another live review for WWE SmackDown, the August 9th, 2016 edition of SmackDown. We're going to be taking a look at everything that took place on tonight's live edition of SmackDown. Overall, I have to say this was a nice rebound from what was a rather bland and boring episode of Monday Night Raw. It clearly shows that 2 hours is the perfect time for a wrestling show. I really didn't feel like SmackDown dragged that much tonight. While it wasn't a perfect show, it was certainly much better than what we saw on Raw. I thought most of what we saw on SmackDown was effective and to the point. The show definitely had a better overall pace compared to Raw. I just felt like Raw had terrible pacing, and it certainly hurt the format of the show. But SmackDown tonight, I have to give them credit. This was the second week in a row that I actually thought SmackDown was the superior show to Raw, and I would like to see that reflected in the ratings. As we all know, if you didn't know, Raw this week, before I get into my SmackDown review, Raw this week drew under 3 million viewers for the first time since the 4th of July episode, which was the lowest episode of the year. So it was not a good episode of Raw. Might have been due to the Olympic competition, but still, it'll be interesting to see how the ratings play out for SmackDown. If SmackDown can catch Raw in the ratings, I think that would be a great indicator to show to USA Network and to WWE that Raw needs to go back to 2 hours, especially with a brand split with your roster cut in half. It makes no sense to have a 3-hour show and a 2-hour show. They both need to be 2-hour shows. That way SmackDown and Raw rosters can be equally balanced. I mean, it's ridiculous, and it certainly showed on Monday night. If they don't get their things in check, I'm worried that we're going to be seeing more episodes of Raw like that. But with that being aside, let's focus on the positives. Let's focus on tonight's edition of SmackDown, which I thought was a solid show. There was a lot of good stuff that I liked, and without further ado, guys, let's get into each and every one of those. So how did we kick off this week's edition of SmackDown? We did so by starting off with Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, and Dolph Ziggler. Bray Wyatt would make his way to the ring. He would preach up and talk about how he is a god among men, and he pretty much said that he did not fall to Dolph Ziggler, and he ran Ziggler's face right into the steel, and that, the only way that, you're never going to be able to kill Bray, because Bray pretty much says that he is a god, and if you don't believe in him, you should talk to Dean Ambrose, because Dean Ambrose knows all about the dominance of Bray Wyatt, because in Wyatt's feud with Ambrose, I believe Wyatt beat Ambrose at every opportunity. I think Ambrose might have beat him once, and that was on Tribute to the Troops, but Bray Wyatt has a dominant record when facing Dean Ambrose in one-on-one action. So eventually Ambrose would get in the ring. He would confront Wyatt, pretty much say that everything you're saying is pretty much bullshit, and I'm going to be the one to knock you off your perch there. Bray Wyatt tries to bait Ambrose into coming into the ring. He says, that ain't going to happen, because that's clearly going to lead to Wyatt and Rowan double-teaming Ambrose. Eventually, Ziggler would storm to the ring. He would rush Wyatt and Rowan. He would eventually begin to be beaten down. Ambrose would go in, make the save, but Ziggler was trying to hit a super kick on Rowan. He accidentally super kicked Dean Ambrose. I like the way that they played the tension up between these two ahead of their title match coming up in less than 11 days at SummerSlam. Ziggler with the accidental super kick on Dean Ambrose later on. This would lead to Shane and Daniel Bryan setting up a tag team match. Holla Holla player, shout out to Teddy Long in the main event. It would be Eric Rowan and Bray Wyatt taking on Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. So like I said, putting the two SummerSlam opponents on the same team in the ring together ahead of their match. What type of tension would arise, we would find out later on in the show. But I like the way that this established what we would see tonight in the main event. It was an effective in-ring segment, and I had no other problems with it. So it was a good way to start this week's edition of SmackDown. We then had the American Alpha make their way to the ring, and they took on a local team of Mikey O'Shea and Mike Vega. And eventually, before the match even started, we had tag teams coming down to the ring from the Ascension to the Vaudevillains, the Hype Bros. The Usos were absent, but that's due to, I believe, Jimmy Uso being out with a short-term injury. So these teams made their way to the ring. They surrounded the ring, and Jordan and Gable were able to make quick work of Mikey and Mike. They won with the American Alpha hit the Grand Amplitude to pick up the win. After the match, Alpha was able to hold off the other tag teams. They all rushed into the ring. We literally had tag team turmoil going on in the ring, but American Alpha were the team to remain standing tall. Gable was able to hit a belly-to-belly suplex on Simon Gotch. So I like this segment, how it established American Alpha as the rising team, the team that will become the cornerstone of the SmackDown tag team division. You have tremendous athletes like Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. They were amazing on NXT, and I know that they will be not only a cornerstone for the SmackDown tag team division, but the WWE tag team division as a whole. Wherever they get drafted to in the future, I cannot wait to see these guys tear it up, and I look forward to the eventual future showdown between American Alpha versus the New Day. I want to see that matchup. That would definitely kick ass, to say the least. So this was good stuff right here. Really liked how the spotlight shone on American Alpha. We then had the Becky Lynch versus what was scheduled to be Eva Marie, but the match didn't even take place again. What was Eva Marie's excuse this week? Her top fell off. So they literally said that she's not able to compete. This really pissed Becky Lynch off. She's like, this ain't going to happen. 2 weeks in a row, I'm not going to go without fighting somebody. So she threw down the open challenge. Alexa Bliss came out. This happened to be her birthday, by the way, so happy birthday to the beautiful Alexa Bliss. Bliss came down to the ring. Her and Becky had a nice little back-and-forth action. Eventually, the match would end in no contest as Eva Marie would actually, I take that back. The match ended with Alexa Bliss winning after Eva Marie came down to the ring and cost Becky Lynch the match. So it looks like we might be continuing with a Becky Lynch, Eva Marie program heading forward. We'll have to see how many times, if Eva Marie even bothers to step into the ring. I kind of am interested to see where this goes. Eva Marie as a character and as a wrestler certainly leaves a lot to be desired, but this is kind of entertaining to see how long they can go without having her step into the ring. What excuses will she come up with next? But like I said, Alexa Bliss picked up her first win on the main roster on her birthday. Sad to see Becky Lynch continue her losing ways. Seems she really hasn't been able to get much momentum going. The crowd still likes her. I'm still a big Becky Lynch fan, but she does have another loss, and this time against Alexa Bliss. We then had Alberto Del Rio versus Randy Orton. Solid and okay match. Like I said, Del Rio doesn't really do it for me. He's really bland, boring, good wrestler. Tremendous physique, but he just seems to be missing character and depth. And I just don't really care at all about Alberto Del Rio. But good worker aside. The match surprisingly ended in a DQ. I thought for sure, it was going to end with Randy Orton hitting the RKO. He eventually did hit the RKO after the DQ. Del Rio tried to attack Orton with the steel chair, attack Orton's shoulder, tried to injure him. Eventually, like I said, Del Rio fell victim to the RKO. So obviously Randy Orton sending a message to his SummerSlam opponent, Brock Lesnar. We then had the match that was scheduled between Rhino and Heath Slater. As we all know, if Heath Slater won this match, he would be signed to SmackDown Live. If he lost, sorry, Heath, you're just not going to be a part of the SmackDown roster. Rhino beat Heath Slater. Didn't really see this as too much of a surprise, so it looks like they're going to be continuing the free agent angle for Heath Slater. I'm kind of entertained with the stuff that they're doing with Heath Slater. I think it's kind of funny. I get a good laugh out of it. So for the time being now, Heath Slater continues to remain the only person undrafted from the WWE draft. Rhino able to beat him in relatively quick time with the gore, so not too much to say there, but Rhino is your winner of that match. We then had what I thought was a nice little video package hyping up Cena versus Styles 2, and then before that we had Carmella make her entrance, and she was discussing how she's sick and tired of, how Natalya attacked her the week before, didn't even allow her to get into the ring and face Natty one-on-one. So Natalya tried to attack Carmella before this match, but Carmella was ready for her this time, and we saw our sixth match of the evening, which was Carmella versus Natalya. Good match, solid, okay match. I wish they gave these two a little bit more time, but for what we got here, I thought it was an okay match. Natalya tried to go for the sharpshooter toward the end, but Carmella was able to counter with the Code of Silence. I really like that finisher, the way that she applies the hold around the neck of Natalya, and the way that she torques back on the legs. It's really, I think, it looks like a devastating, effective finisher, one that could really hurt when applied with the right amount of pressure and pain. So it was nice to see both Carmella and Alexa Bliss both pick up wins in their respective debut matches here on SmackDown. So, like I said, Carmella with the submission victory over Natalya. And then we have, like I said, the promo package for Cena versus Styles. Both weren't able to be on SmackDown tonight. I believe they're in Australia for a tour that WWE is doing in Australia, so we will see them back next week on SmackDown Live. But I really look forward to how they finish out the Styles and Cena feud, the final go-home segment for the go-home episode of SmackDown Live heading into SummerSlam. We then had our main event of the evening, like I said. Actually, before our main event, I have to mention that Baron Corbin attacked Kalisto. He laid him out. It was pretty much in the backstage area. Kalisto was beaten down by Baron Corbin. It looks like we might be getting a Baron Corbin versus Kalisto feud. That's something that I would actually like to see. It would give both guys something to do. And I'm really a big fan of Baron Corbin. Would like to see him excel. I said he would be somebody that would excel with the brand extension, the brand split returning, and hopefully after SummerSlam we see Baron Corbin get back on track. He definitely has the potential to be one of the upper echelon heels on SmackDown. Not main event level yet, but I definitely think over time he can eventually develop into potentially a main event player. And then we had our main event match of the evening. It was Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler teaming up to take on the Wyatt family. Solid main event tag team match here. Didn't have a problem with it. Your winners were Ambrose and Ziggler, so they were surprisingly able to coexist and fend off the Wyatts. The finish came after Ziggler hit a nice-looking super kick on Eric Rowan to get the victory, and then afterwards, Ambrose was able to one-up Ziggler as he dropped him with the dirty deeds. So the crowd gave a nice little yes chant to Dean Ambrose. He was clearly receiving the favorable two reactions compared to him and Dolph. So that's how we end SmackDown, with your WWE champion walking out and standing tall. So yeah, guys, that is my review for this week's edition of SmackDown. Like I said, overall, there was a lot of solid stuff on the show. I thought the show had a good, enjoyable pace. Definitely 10 times better than Raw this week. So yeah, for back-to-back weeks, I felt like SmackDown was the superior show. We'll have to see if Raw can rebound next week with the go-home episodes for both Raw and SmackDown heading into SummerSlam. There's going to be a lot on the line, so I look forward to watching both of those. But going back to SmackDown, enjoyable episode tonight. If I had to give it a grade, I would give it a B, a solid B. So, guys, thank you all for tuning into this live review of SmackDown. Guys, let me know down in the comments section below what you thought of SmackDown. Always enjoy getting to your comments and reading them, getting that feedback discussion going. Be on the lookout also for my thoughts on the Dean Ambrose Stone Cold podcast episode. I'll have to get that up sometime tomorrow. Be on the lookout for my NXT and Cruiserweight Classic reviews, and I will be answering my Q&A questions. Remember, you can leave those on my Q&A video that I did last Friday. The forum will be open until this upcoming Friday, so ask your questions away. Look forward to reading and answering those questions. So, guys, once again, thank you for tuning in. Remember to click that like and subscribe button for more video content coming soon to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Until then, see ya.